I'm Chad Fournier with Current TV. On today's Behind the Board, we get to know Nags Head Mayor Ben Cahoon. Nags Head Mayor Ben Cahoon, thank you for coming out and talking to me today.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
We're here at the awesome Dowdy Park.
It's really interesting how much of a sort of a community builder it has been. The market's been part of that. I think the way families utilize the space, I think the way the school utilizes the space, it's a very visual landmark. I know some of the other mayors are jealous of our park and what we've been able to accomplish here because it's so visual, such a visual part of the community. It's really interesting. My business partner won the competition to design the arched entry over there. And so I came over and helped him erect it after he had built the arches. And so we had conversation with people who were in the park that spring, and it was really interesting. People would ask what we were doing, but people with small children said they actually had chosen to rent near the park because on the days when they couldn't swim, they had things they could do with their children, and they could just walk to the park. And I thought, well, never really thought of the park as kind of an economic thing, because we don't really do economic development projects, but it's kind of interesting that the park was a feature that people were actually interested in being near. So that was kind of cool.
That is super interesting, and it's located perfectly because you have Bonnet Street beach access right there.
Yep.
So if you can rent around here, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we have the Bonnet Street beach access, just down the street. The YMCA across the highway, and then if you go up past the Y, there's an entrance to the trails in Nags Head Woods. So it's we've talked with the Nature Conservancy about creating a trail that would go all the way from Bonnet Street through the woods to the sand. And I think there are already classes who sort of do that tour, like elementary and middle school, to just sort of see the profile of the island, because you could start at one side and go all the way to the other. So we've talked about doing something maybe with some interpretive elements that would sort of describe the cross-section of the island here. So that would be kind of cool too.
Yeah, I think people would love that.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Well, let's get to know you a little bit more.
Sure.
Let's start with where are you from? Where do you hail from?
I am from Hyde County, the county that borders Dare to the south, just to the southwest. I grew up in the village of Englehart, a little farming and fishing village. I grew up on a farm there, and went to the local high school there, and I graduated, and then went to NC State for my architecture degree. Lived in Raleigh and Cary for a little while, and then moved to the Outer Banks, and have been in Nags Head ever since.
Gotcha. So you got that architecture degree.
Yep.
And you were an architect, or you are an architect.
I am an architect. That's my real job. That's my day
job. Your real job. That's right. How long have you been doing that for?
Let's see. In my current partnership, 34 years.
Wow.
I've been practicing on the Outer Banks I was just calculating on the way over here, 36 years now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is one of some of your favorite builds that you've done?
The funny one is the replica lighthouse on the waterfront, Manio. I've often joked because people love that little building, and you see photographs of it everywhere. Manio uses it, the state magazines. You just see that photograph everywhere, and I've often joked that my fee should have been $1 for every time it appeared in print.
It would have been a better deal.
It would have been a much better deal than the fee I got. So that one was pretty fun. Yeah.
Any other ones stand out?
Let's think about what stands out. One that was really interesting, it's not really an architectural project, but I worked with the late artist Glenn Ure and some other folks on the monument to a century of flight that's up in Kitty Hawk. It's the circle that has all the pylons that celebrates a century of flight. And, Glenn and some artist friends designed it, but they didn't have anybody to sort of technically put it together. And so Glenn came to me, and I helped him do that. And that was a really rewarding experience. Something, a lot of architects don't get to do something like that.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
A little different, outside the box here a little bit.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What made you get into architecture? Is it just a natural thing that came to you as you were growing up, or?
I think so. I was always an artist. I was always drawing. And at some point, and I don't know if it was, I've wondered if it was riding the bus and looking out the window at some of those old sort of Georgian mansions that you would see, the plantation houses that you would see on the way to school, or exactly what it was that got me interested. I do remember that my father was considering building the post office. So they were, a lot of post offices I think are or were privately owned, and so you could bid and build a post office. And so he had the plan. So I had this big stack of plans that he received to consider whether he was going to build the local post office or not. And I pored over those plans. I was just fascinated by all the drawings and the details and everything. So that could have been part of it too. I remember that when I was about 10 years old, my mother fortunately took my interest seriously and ordered me a bunch of drafting tools and a desk and a stool and the whole 9 yards.
That was smart of her.
And back in those days, it came on a freight truck. It didn't come in a UPS van. It came on a freight truck, and it took. So yeah.
What was your family like growing up? Brothers, sisters?
I have one brother who's about 3 years younger than me. And so we grew up on the family farm. It was pretty great. We did a lot of mowing. There were a lot of acres of yards, and around farm buildings and that kind of thing. So I grew up doing that. Started driving a tractor solo when I was probably about 10 years old, as a lot of farm kids do. And every summer I was on the tractor, and then I would come home from school, when it was harvest season or in spring plowing season, come home from school. I had a motorcycle, so I would eat a snack. I'd get off the bus, eat a snack, find out where my dad was. He usually left a message, when he came home for lunch about where they would be. I'd jump on my motorcycle and cut through the fields and go to work. So I grew up in that farming family. I got interested in architecture. My brother is the farmer in the family, so he tends their family land, and so he's close by and his family, so that's pretty cool too.
Do you feel like growing up on the farm helped you develop a work ethic that helped you through your architecture career and now mayor?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. It was, my father was a really good example. He was hardworking. He was entrepreneurial. It was not just the farm. He started a convenience store. He and some of his relatives started a John Deere equipment dealership, and kept farming through all of that. So he was a great example of that. He was active in the community and organizations like the JCs and others. And he actually, not until I left for college, actually served as a county commissioner. But that was not part of my experience as a child growing up for him to be in elected office. But he gave a lot to the community, and so that was a good example. And I got experience from a young age, being put in a situation where people depended on me, and to sort of show up and do my best. And so I think that was all pretty formative, yeah.
Tell us about your current family now.
Yep, so I'm married. This June will be 39 years we've been married. Thank you very much. So we're excited. We have 40 coming up, so we'll have a big celebration next year. So we're excited about that. We have 2 adult children and 1 grandchild. We have a daughter and a son who's 8 years younger than her. Our daughter is married and has a son, and actually next week we're going to Ocracoke and spend the week together. So that's going to be fun.
Fantastic. So your daughters still live around the area?
They are in Durham.
Okay.
My daughter and her family and my son are all in Durham. They live close together. It's interesting. It's kind of fun to watch your adult children be friends. Mm-hmm. And plus now my son is an uncle, so he gets to be Uncle James and come and babysit and hang out, and so that's pretty fun to watch.
I didn't ask you, talking about your childhood and growing up in college and all that, what brought you to the Outer Banks?
Well, this was the beach we came to as kids and teenagers. So when I was when I was growing up on the farm, we had a camper, and we would get to the right point in the summer, and we would bring the camper to, it was called Sandpiper's Trace. It was on the north end of Roanoke Island where the Heritage Point subdivision is now. There was a big campground. And so we spent a lot of time there in the summer, and we would come over to the beach and to go to the movies, and things like that. And then when we were teenagers and I was dating my now wife, we started dating in high school. So we would come to the beach. We would stop in Manio usually to buy food and drink for a picnic, and then we would come to where the village at Nags Head is now. There was just sort of a little sand pullover behind the dunes, and we would cross the dunes, and that's where we went to the beach a lot. So spent some time over here. Actually got engaged here on New Year's Eve at so I'm drawing a blank on the name of the restaurant now. It was New Year's Eve. We were in college. We were home on break. We drove over here. It snowed. We had dinner and I got engaged. That was.
That's a great way to start the new year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You probably had a really good year that year.
Yeah, we did. So that was fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
How long have you been mayor of Nags Head now?
A little over 6 years. So
6 years?
Got, about a year and a half left to go, and in my second term. So it's been fun. It's great. I mean, it's been a great place to live and to raise children, and I appreciate the opportunity to give back to the community some. So, and we have a really great staff. Very professional staff. We're very fortunate in that regard. They make it pretty easy to be the mayor. I have a great board. I have had the good fortune to serve with some really good board members. We have a great board right now. Really excited about some of the things that we're doing. And the nice thing, when you talk to mayors in some of the comparable sized or smaller inland communities, they struggle for resources. They don't have the tax base and all the other resources, revenue sharing, and the staff who can access grant funds and that sort of thing. They don't have those opportunities, and so we're able to do a lot here for our citizens, and that's pretty exciting. That's what we all want. So it's actually a pretty easy job.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
What made you want to run for mayor?
I could say I got my arm twisted, but having practiced architecture here for so long, everybody knew me. I spent a lot of time in front of boards, presenting projects, and I think people had a good feeling about me. And I had actually my first sort of public service experience. Well, besides all the committees and task forces and everything else that I had served on. There was a vacancy on the Board of Education, the Dare County Board of Education, and that was going to be filled by appointment. And there were folks who encouraged me, came to me and said, "We think you would make a great Board of Education member." I had a child in the system at the time. My son was still a student, and I thought, yeah, I could do that. So I interviewed, they appointed me. That was about 2 years on that unexpired term. Then I got elected to a 4-year term and said, that's it, I'm done. And then a little while later, they said, well, we have another unexpired term. We need you to serve about 2 more years. So I went back and did that. So that was a good experience. I had served on a lot of task forces in the town, including the Dowdy Park Steering Committee that kind of did the planning for the park here. There was a Beach Road task force that I had served on, and a rewrite of the comprehensive land use plan. I had served on that committee, and so I think there were folks who thought I would be a good mayor, and so I gave it a shot. And fortunately, I think Bob Mueller, who's a former mayor, told me that he had never had the luxury of running unopposed, and I've been able to run unopposed twice, and so that was pretty good.
It sounds to me, throughout all these things that you're talking about that you just have done a really good job and people have liked you? Was there any reluctancy to keep going into these different positions and keep serving? It sounds like people are just like, we really need you. Are they guilt tripping you into it? Or
I know. And you know, again, I cited the example of my father being a good example in public service. And you know, this community just has given me and my family so much. I mean, it's such a wonderful place to live. Nags Head is beautiful and provides great services, and I just, you know, if people are willing to have me, then you know, yeah, I'm really happy to serve.
that's good. What's one of the things that you're most proud of during your service as mayor that you've accomplished?
Oh gosh. You know, we finished Dowdy Park, and part of, I think the best thing that we have done is not just to build Dowdy Park, but to really make it an active and valuable place for the community. You know, we established the market, and people loved it, and it grew. You know, originally it was just going to be once a month, and then the vendors said, no, we really were doing well, we want more time. So we went to twice a month, and then the vendors kept pressing, and then finally it became a weekly thing, you know. But that was in response to what people wanted us to, were asking us to do. And so, and then we have the music programs here. So I think not just building something, but then really kind of sticking with it and make sure that it becomes fully the vision that you had for it is something that we've done really well. And I think we have done that on several projects. You know, when about the time I was elected, we were having pretty severe flooding problems in the town. And we developed a program for maintaining our drainage ways, for replacing our drainage infrastructure and upgrading it, and we've been aggressive about looking for grants for doing all that work, and our board has been totally committed to supporting all of that work. And so we have, I have driven around because, you know, when we have a major rain, you know, I usually get in my car early in the morning and I drive around and I look at the places that have always been problematic, and we've done a really good job of taking care of that problem, and I'm really proud of that.
That's gotta feel good.
It does feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels, because that, you know, that even if it's nuisance flooding, that really has an impact on people, and it just kind of wears you down when it happens over and over and over again. And we have one area that has been kind of tough, but we finally got the money that we needed, and we're going to do the project this year, and that's install some drainage on Old Oregon Inlet Road south of Whalebone. We have some areas down there that are just low-lying and that are prone to flooding and heavy rain, and we've designed an innovative project down there that'll dispose of the water by pumping it into the dune system, and we were able to get a grant based on that innovation, and so we'll do that this year, and that will be kind of the last of the major areas that we need to tackle.
Favorite movie?
Oh, wow. Let's see, the original Star Wars, A New Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that came out when I was a teen, and one of the things that we used to do is I mentioned that I grew up on the farm. Sort of toward the end of August, there was a time we couldn't do anything in the field, and school was coming. My mother would take her vacation then, and the year that Star Wars A New Hope came out, I was a kid, and I went to the movie theater and saw Star Wars. And I think I saw Star Wars 4 times that weekend. I mean, I just kept going back to the theater thinking, this is the most amazing thing.
We talked about favorite movie. What about your favorite book?
I was hoping that was going to be the next question. I'm ready for that.
I think it follows favorite movie, right?
There is a book by Herman Wouk called Youngblood Hawk. And it's about a writer in New York City after World War II who is consumed by his passion for his writing and very talented and unable to say no to the people who want him to write a movie script or do something else, which reminds me of myself a little bit, you know, and doesn't end well for him, unfortunately, but it's a great, I've read that novel till it's coming apart. I've read it several times, so it's
Cool.
it's really
you can
good.
Find one that resonates that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. What about your favorite food on the beach? There's got to be something you go back to a lot.
Favorite food on the beach? Well, let's see.
Nice shot.
I love oysters.
Yes.
And so odd to say, I also love Caesar salad. So Caesar with oysters is always kind of a go-to for me, and all of the restaurants here locally offer that, but I love all kinds of seafood. So my wife and I went out last night. This is soft shell week on the Outer Banks, so we went out last night and had some really great soft shells, which was good.
Soft shells are the best.
Yeah.
All right, I think you're winning. I got my last shot here. Oh, no good.
Sweet.
Mayor Ben Cahoon, thank you for talking to us.
Yep,
Hopefully we get to
enjoyed
know
it.
you a little bit better now. So
Sure.
Thanks for coming out.
Enjoyed it. Thank you guys for doing this.
Awesome.